Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to talk about two stories, and I'm gonna call this "Is it was Odysseus right for his decision?" And the difference between what Odysseus, which is from Odyssey and Iliad. And I am comparing this to Red Rising by Pierce Brown. So, at the beginning of the Odyssey, you have Odysseus. He has taken over the Trojan area. Troy. He's taken over Troy. And basically they're winning. They have their horse, and it's looking good for them. But the gods tell Odysseus they do need to kill the child of Troy, because there's a prophecy that says this child could be the country's undoing. And Odysseus just decides, okay, well, the gods told me to do this, so I do this. And he decides to off the boy. In, I don't think the cruelest way possible, but it's still pretty bad. Throws him off the wall. Okay. First minute into the video, this is what you're getting. Okay. And then we have Darrow with the same decision, and Darrow makes a different decision. So this is going to spoil Morningstar to the next quartet. So basically what happens is Darrow kills Lysander's grandmother in front of him, and everybody's pretty much like, kill him too. And Darrow is like, hey, I will have Severo take care of him, and he will be a good mentor, and we won't have to worry about the consequences. And that pretty much just bites him in the butt, pretty much, guys. Because Lysander, like, holds a grudge the whole time against Darrow. It's not like, oh, you killed my grandmother, I will move on, I will be a good boy. No. Nature versus nurture was like, we're just gonna make him evil because of what he saw, which I can kind of not blame him, but it's the whole thing of, do you kill the heir to protect others? And like, is a child the consequences of its parents, pretty much, is what the argument is. And I mean, we could roll the dice, and he could have been anybody. He was still young enough where if he followed Severo, he could have ended up being very peaceful, not begrudging others. He could have, followed Darrow and everything like that. He doesn't do that. He pretty much goes on a revenge plot to kill Darrow every single second he can, every time he sees the man. And the question, obviously there's a nature versus nurture. The nature part would be, like, the DNA part. Like, was he always going to be, this way. And then the nurture part is, you know, Severo doing his best, but at the same time, if he was nature pushed him to do that, like Severo wouldn't be able to even stop him anyway. And that's kind of what the argument is. Because we could have also rolled the dice and he could have been the man that he becomes. And then we still have to live with the consequences. So was Odysseus right? And this is a very complicated discussion when we are talking about these two stories, because we see the consequences of Darrow's action, we do not see Odysseus's. So if we just look at the nature part, if the king, and this is something we really don't get to know unless I'm going based off of Epic the musical, not really the Odyssey itself, but because, you know, the Epic the musical is pretty close to my knowledge, we're going to go with it. So one day I will read the Iliad and the Odyssey. That way we can have even a deeper discussion, but right now that's what I'm basing that off of. So nature says if he was bound to be violent, he will probably be violent. Now, there is a lot of sorry guys. There's a lot in Greek mythology that is made out of superstition. So you do have the Fates, which is three sisters, and they can see the future, and they usually work with the gods. So, and their predictions are based off of the currents of the sea, can change at any minute. But they can predict loosely of what's going to happen. So if the Fates told Zeus that this child is going to destroy, okay, that's why Zeus said to not take the risk. Obviously in Red Rising, we don't have that identity. We don't have the identity of gods. Gods do not play a part in Red Rising. Red Rising is a person-to-person decision making. There's no upper being making decisions. So, obviously, the way that, Odysseus has that same debate, we know that Odysseus would have probably made the same decision as Darrow to keep the kid alive. And if Darrow has showed us anything, it will probably be the same cycle, because nurture does not seem like it works in this type of context, because there's a big hatred, a big in-depth revenge that this person might want to set off on you later. Is kind of what the theme is entailing when you go based off of what happens in Red Rising. And I think Pierce Brown probably read the Odyssey and the Iliad at some point and probably got, or he just came up with this whole storyline himself. I do believe that. I do believe that he probably, he's it's a Roman inspired thing, but he could have came up with this storyline all on his own, and not pulled anything from the material I'm saying. But it's just really interesting about how many parallels like I find when I'm reading Red Rising and I think about Epic the Musical and then Odyssey and Iliad, how many like times I'm like, Darrow reminded me so much of Odysseus and what leads him to his conclusions. And the struggle that he has and everything like that. Like I feel like they have the same struggles and the same internal monologue and everything. Like I could make this world a better place and this is how I want to do it. But these are the people that are standing in my way. What do I do? And both of them really answer in a violent direction. Um, and I think it's interesting that they share so many parallels and they come up with similar conflicts between each other. Um, yeah, I think that's all I really have to talk about. This is going to be a short little video. I think Lysander is a very interesting character. I think he's at the Joffrey level of should have been killed a little way earlier. He's even blonde too. I love it. Like Pierce Brown, how many things did you read before you wrote this? Because I'm like, when I read Lysander, I feel so much of Joffrey and like the same hatred I have for Joffrey for some of his actions. I have the same feelings for Lysander, but Lysander is older, so it's like then you push him up to like Ramsay, and you're just like, yeah, you're just not good at all. But he's an interesting character, and he'd be an interesting character in Red God to see what happens. Um, to see if he's like the true light bringer or is the Red God going to destroy him. I have some theories about that too that I did in another video that I can link down below. But it's like an overall like I was reading Iron Gold at the time and it's like an overall kind of comparison, but I did really want to focus on Lysander and that story. But anyways, like and subscribe. I will have videos coming Thursday and Sunday, shorts on Monday, and I will see you in a video coming real soon. Bye.